come free with the duck and an eagle shooting the breeze. From paintball fields to campfire fun, you know the rowdy talk's just begun. Now kick up your feet and pour a glass. We're about to have a blast. We're the rowdy ones. We're the rowdy ones. The rowdy ones.
Welcome back to another episode of The Rowdy Ones. I'm really excited about tonight's episode. I'm going to sit down and have a chat with Adam Gardner, who a lot of people know now is just, a titan in the industry, ahead of one of the best gun companies, I would say arguably, but it is, in paintball. But outside of that, I mean, Adam has been entrenched in paintball since pretty much I was born, from starting businesses to running teams, to getting us on ESPN when we played inside the Mohegan Sun, to opening up a field that was, probably the gem of the Northeast, where teams came from all over this coast to come play indoor and outdoor. He brought together some of the people that grew into be my best friends and comrades throughout, my entire life. And so I think there's a lot to this story that I would like to get into, but I would like to thank you, for being who you are. I think you're obviously, you kind of take a back seat to a lot of things and let just people say what they want to say and do what they want to do. But, your impression in paintball and on my career has been, kind of, I couldn't put words to say how much it's actually meant. So I thank you for that. And I also thank you for, sitting down during this holiday season when we're extremely busy at work and outside of work. So thank you for your time, and we'll try not to monopolize too much of it.
No, it's a pleasure to be here. It's been a good run in paintball, and I've enjoyed it. Hopefully got a long time to continue in this sport. My brother and I started this back in 1989 and built it up from his garage and to something really big and then something less big, and now we're building it back up again. So it's been a good run, lots of friends, and I'd say most of my friends come from paintball as well. So I remember when you were young and first starting on the team, and
even before that, my first job was with you. Right. So history definitely goes deep. But what I appreciate the most in people in general is passion. And I think the fact that you've been able to maintain that passion for it's
a long time. We don't need
30 some, it's a long time. And I still get messages to this day. I'll be at a tournament. If we're playing good, they're words of encouragement. When we're playing bad, you let me know what's going on, and it's that passion in the sport. It's not, you haven't got tired of it. You obviously can get burnt out on certain aspects of it here or there, but you haven't got tired of it. So I'd like you to kind of run through how, I know, the business obviously started in Billy's garage, but how did you first start playing? Because you were always involved in sports, in high school and before. And I guess you'd say sports. I know you're a fantastic wrestler, but I'm still pretty sure you were wrestling high school girls at that weight class.
They were. I got my ass kicked my first year of wrestling, but because I only weighed 87 pounds in the 98 varsity category. But the next year, the most satisfying thing about that was guys who destroyed me my freshman year. The next year, I weighed 98, and I came back and wrestled several of them and pinned them, and that was very, very satisfying. But my brother and I have always been super competitive. We played every sport out there, and we have enjoyed it. And we played, our first paintball game was, I think, spring break. I was a freshman in college, and he was a senior. We went to Orlando to play, or actually we just went for spring break, and we had some Splat Masters he had bought online. And we played with him and another former All-American, Mark Weaver. We just ran around and shot each other in the woods. And as soon as we ran out of paint, we, of course, had to get more. And when he called, the local field was like, well, don't come between whatever hours because we have a session. We're like, what do you mean?
Yeah, how can I get in on that?
They're like, well, come and play paintball together. We're like, oh my gosh. And we spent the rest of our spring break there, and we're hooked and started playing at Pinnacle Woods in Ohio. It's like a couple hour drive from Worcester. And got hooked that way. He went on to graduate school at Emory, and during the summer we opened our first field as part of his entrepreneurship of his MBA, and did that. But we didn't have any customers, but we got really good at crawling and shooting each other. Yeah. And then we saw an ad for the Jerry Braun's Wolf Slayer event, and that was our first tournament. It was a 20-man, and I think we had maybe 15 people who had never played tournament paintball before, and took second place against the EMI Piranhas, I think it was, and took a bag of $10,000 cash home, and that was kind of
a lot of Wolf Slayer wins on the back of Big Green, on the stars with the wins. So.
Yeah, that's where we met the Baltimore Rats. The next couple years we would play. I think there were 7-mans there, and we would win every single one. And they got second, and they finally gave up trying to beat us and joined us.
Well, for some of our newer listeners, give kind of an insight into who the Baltimore Rats were.
That's the Malacheski's. Richie was too young back then, but it was Tommy and Greg, and there were a bunch of the guys. But we had fierce battles, and certainly they were some good players back then. I mean, Tommy doesn't get a lot of credit, but he was a good thinker. I'll give him that. Well,
it looked like it was twisting your arm to give it to him, but
yeah, Tommy's a good guy. I definitely would rather have him on my team than against me. But so we had lots of good battles with them, and when we finally eventually joined together, we really had our big runs and did some really good stuff together.
Yeah, and I always thought Northeast paintball back then was so different than every other part of the country, and to me, how cliquey and almost gang-like all the teams were back then was a unique aspect of it. I mean, there was a lot of hate and animosity for, rivals that you don't see today because of how much player movement happens and how professional in some aspects has gone that way, and some of the lengths of the careers players have had. But can you touch on how, some of those rivalries grew in that area? Because a lot of them were area dependent.
They really were, and maybe it had to do with lack of internet, and we just saw each other at events, and it's interesting. I mean, you watch some of the stuff today, and the guys will go and they'll play each other, and one will win and one will lose, and they'll both be smiling and hugging each other afterwards, and it's not a big deal. That was not like that for us. I mean, we wanted to win. Aftershock wanted to win. Ironman wanted to win. It didn't matter who you were. I mean, it was they were going to do anything and everything to, take home that first place. And I mean everything. And
it was a grimier game back then, which I know you have a lot of stories that both ways,
Yeah, I mean, it was what it was, but I mean, everybody knew the deal, and certainly it wasn't all that, but there were certainly times where it was, when you have referees that are teams, you have a mix in there. I mean, the upside is that they know what can be done and where it's done and what to look for. The downside is if they don't like you, that's a problem. So, you get both of that. I'd almost rather have a qualified referee that didn't like me than a ref that has no idea what he's watching.
I agree with that completely. I have a funny story. My first tournament in Chicago that I played, Aftershock was reffing that. Marcus, the Carcass was reffing it. I slide down into the bottom side of the ladder field, and I'm kind of crawling down. I have a mirror on the other side, and he comes up, and we're playing against. What's going on with that ding and how?
That might be on my computer. I turned off my notifications and other stuff. I'll just turn my phone off because people keep. I get a lot of texts, Ryan.
Yeah, you're an important dude.
Yeah, I don't know. There, it's silent now. It won't.
Perfect.
It might still on my computer.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I was crawling down, and Marcus comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, that guy's gun's broken. Just go down and bunker him." And to me, I'm not gonna believe this dude. He could just be trying to screw me as much as he's trying to screw that person. Mm-hmm. And I kind of head checked a couple times. I looked. Every time I'd look, that dude would go in. I was like, I think he's telling the truth. I went down, bunkered this dude, shot 5 or 6 other dudes. And just after the game, Marcus is like, "Yeah, I hate those guys. I think we're addicted." He's like, "I hate those guys." So I was just trying to help you out. And I was like, That's the griminess that there was. But before that, like when it was really grimy, even when there were good refs on the field, even if they weren't trying to screw you, a lot was just the situation too. You weren't playing on open fields, small fields. You were playing, deep into the woods with a lot of elevation changes. And there was some intricacies to that just led to more of that. And I think anytime, you stick with a group of guys on a team for so long and those build up against the same other group of guys, you'll grow some more hate and animosity than you would in a normal situation.
Interesting enough. I mean, even with Shock reffing us, we did great in Chicago. I mean, we did Chicago like every year. We'd win 5-man, we'd win 10-man, we'd win all of that. And I think they would have loved to see us falter, but they didn't screw us over there. And
you say that, but I think they wanted to, because I remember one of my favorite Chicago moments for you was 2001 Chicago when you guys won. And I remember like I was just happened to be around Rennick and them before like you guys started playing the finals. And he told his dudes, he's like, if the All-Americans win, like you guys are all fired. So regardless of what you say, he said that. And then I remember
he would say that, yeah.
And then I remember watching a breakout where you tripped and about 8 dudes fell on top of you and all of them got shot and you just got up and scampered away.
That was the worst thing ever. And we still won that event. It was semifinals against the Ironman, I think.
It was,
Dave's Ironman. And it was the starting block. There was no grass and I had my foot planted and I was going to go run. And
that was a big field too. So you had to be explosive.
I pushed off and I literally, my whole just went down in front of everybody. And I think I broke my gun in half, like my feet neck. But
you should have picked up one of the other guns from all the other.
It wouldn't have mattered. It was, we had like 5 guys in the back center bunker. I think half of them were hit.
Oh yeah.
And, I think we might've I think it was 99-1 or something like that. It was ridiculous. And that's a great way to start the semifinals, by the way. And miraculously we came back and made it to the finals and then won the event. So I got a little bit of redemption for my team picking me up there. I think Frank had a really good game against Bob where
I'm sure there was some gentle ribbing between points after that one.
Yeah, they were not happy. They didn't give me too much crap because it wasn't. It's not like
it wasn't over yet either, and you didn't do it on purpose. But I think
just really
for players that don't play 10-man now, they don't understand. Like semifinals back then were 4 teams, and you just played each team one time, and it was the highest point accumulation that moved on. So while that was super detrimental to your chances, you weren't completely out of it yet.
It felt like it, but yeah.
I thought you guys were hooped.
Yeah. I thought I never realized that you two played against each other.
In practice a lot, me and Adam.
Yeah,
in practice a lot. Adam didn't retire until the 2004 season.
Right.
So we'll get to that. So he won, the first X-Ball championship that there ever was. Wow. The trophy still. Yeah. Did you play in 04?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I was thinking my memory slipped then. I wasn't sure if you played. So you retired right before 05.
Yeah, after back-to-back, and this little really fast snake kid named Tim Montrosser came there, and I said, he's really quick in the snake, and
also was a bit of a different game too.
Yeah, it definitely was. I thought, I've done this like 20 years. I'd like to go out on top, and still enjoyed it, but I had kids and
05 was
on the business,
and it was going to be a rebuilding year for the team in some aspects anyway. It's hard to continually win back-to-back championships. Right. I mean, there's always going to be some learning curves there, but I thought like as a player, I always respected your game because you played uniquely. I like players that aren't just emulating something else. They made their own style. I mean, you were very methodical, but you were a front player, your entire career. Like you see players to this day and age that are still like that, like the Billy Bernacci's, Chad George's, Mouse's, front snake guys. I wouldn't call you a front snake guy because, I mean, there wasn't snakes for most of your career. But post snakes, you were mostly a snake guy. And X-Ball when it started, I mean, there was like 2 bunkers on the field, and everyone's shooting guns. Everyone has cheater modes in their guns. Everyone's shooting 30 balls a second, and you're out there carrying 2 pods in case you spill one. Shooting that ridiculous first shot, shooting people with 1 shot, because if it took 2, that's probably too many for you to waste. So
yeah, it was always, I would say it was always snake-like positions, usually a tape line. I didn't do as much of the middle. I've done probably more of that just when I've been playing for fun, and I like it, but I prefer to minimize the angles that can get to me and focus on the guy in front of me and work my way in, or pick people off in the middle. But I remember, even though it was before Snake, the diamond in Chicago was just crazy. I'd have Bob.
It was super low too. I remember people used to have to take their packs off and slide.
Take my pack off. If I showed an inch, I had 7 guys shooting at me, the most brittle evil, and get to the corner. And that was just, that was fun. So
and speaking of, Tim, him bringing back the ICC and stuff, and making 10-man great again, like that, I got a chance to play with you again a lot, and that's the first time I really did see you in more middle spots and stuff, and I was impressed. When paintball and you're a paintball player, you can play anywhere. Like you said, you always lean towards the tapes because you're an angles guy, a mathematical player more so. But you kind of excelled in the chaos of the center, because the center is a chaotic spot. I think it's easy to switch Doritos to snakes. The middle player takes a different mentality.
It's a matter of, when you're playing there, it's about timing and listening and just recognizing where the potential is. And it's sometimes out of those moments where everybody thinks he's never going to move because he can't move, that you can move. But you got to have a feel for it and watch the balls fly by you and just have a sense of timing. And not always does it work, but more often than you would think. If I said to somebody, I'm going to go do this, they're like, yeah, right. But there's always that moment where it's a possibility, and it's having the just the sense of, hey, I can do this, and trying it. And there's lots of times it works out, and you can have a big impact on a game that way.
You talk about timing and a sense of things. I talk about that a lot too, and I think a lot of that's just the innate ability to slow down a chaotic moment in your mind. So while the chaos is happening around you, be able to kind of tune it out and break down the little variables. And I think a lot of that looks like, oh, that's good timing, but it's not just guesses or a tingle. It's your body reacting faster than your mind can break it down what's happening, and you being able to take advantage of it and trust yourself. I think that's what it really goes down to the most, is that innate trust in yourself to not second guess it, because the windows are opening and closing constantly and fast.
The way I would play the snake, a good example of that, even when the rates of fire were even faster, I did not have the opportunity to come up, to aim, to take a couple shots, to look. So
there also didn't used to be knuckles. So, we were just popping up over top of
nothing. You've literally got a split second. So you almost have to know where to go and line up your barrel beforehand, and you don't peek. You have it lined up, you come up, and with your eyes, you saw what the vision. I know I just take one ball and fire it in that direction,
and disappearing as you
right. And before they can fire back, you're back down. I see, drives me nuts when I see guys pop over the snake and they've got a body or a harness, and they'll take 15 shots in a pattern, hit the bunker 5 times before they ever aim. And then the guy just adjusts and you lose that shot. I always tried to minimize my risk of getting shot, because I figured I don't like trading. I'm not playing that game. I feel I'm more important than the guy I'm trying to shoot, and I'll get him eventually, but I want to do it where it's 60-40 or 70-30.
Yep.
So
100%. Being alive is almost more important than killing people.
Yeah.
So I do want to ask you, Adam, so you got to go through the whole transition of paintball, right? You started in the woods.
I'm jealous of the 20-man action you got.
Yeah.
Dude, right? But I wanted to ask you, through the whole transition of like all the different fields you got to play. You know, you went from woods to mounds to hyperball to what there is now, which is, you know, X ball. You know, what was your favorite of all those things like that you got to do? Is it because of like a core, just an experience or love or memory that you had on that field, or was it also like just because of how it played?
If you answer this wrong, I'm going to be sad.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I actually like them all, but in different ways. I mean, there's certain things I hate. What I hated about the woods, I mean, I love the sneakiness and the crawling, and you know, that's just fun. And
takes you back to childhood, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we were
beginning.
Yeah, we were really good in the woods. The strategy, you know, I hated how long the games. You know, you'd sit there for hours and they get delayed, and you know, and I mean, we got screwed in a lot of games that you know the referees just can't handle. As the players got better and better at things, and the guns they just couldn't handle some of the woods ball. So I'd say some of those early cup days and wood ball events, you know, it just sucks. You want to win so bad, and you want to go out there and do your best, and having, you know, like Mikey Bruno go out of bounds and the refs help him and come in behind you and stuff like that. Although we still sent them home, which is an even funnier story. But, you know, stuff like that. And
you guys were just delayed slightly going home because you had a bunch of flat tires on Big Green.
Yeah, well, that happened. Like,
oh my gosh,
we won the cup. But you know, that type of stuff was really disheartening in many ways. Just because, you know, it wasn't like you went out there and they just beat you always. Sometimes that happens. Certainly, there, you know, some good teams and they have good games, and certainly, you know, plenty of our losses were, you know, were well earned on our part, but some of those ones that weren't, those eat at you for a while. So I really liked the X ball format when it came back, and there were tons of referees and they threw penalties and all the stuff that became normal in the woods. You know, we went from probably a bottom team to a top team right away when we got really good reffing and really good organization and teamwork and strategy on a totally different field. So
before teams were ready to really invest into the structure of the team too. I mean,
they didn't have the coaching and the plotting and all that stuff. And that was just kind of natural.
Well, it could go to something as simple as like 2003 World Cup when you guys won. You guys had the oxygen tanks in your pit. And I know that might sound ridiculous, but that's huge if you're running back to back points and you can get that little breath of air. There's a reason, you know, NFL teams have it on the sideline. It's not because
where was that World Cup?
That was a Wild World of Sports. Yeah.
Was it?
That was the ESPN one that they filmed.
When it was on.
Wow. Did we play? I'm thinking Bobby in 2004, Strange in 2003, right?
Reverse it.
Is it reverse? Okay, Strange. All right.
Yeah, Thunder was a team in 2003, and then Strange took over.
Right.
So you guys played Strange on ESPN in the finals.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember. Yes, holidays, taking a holiday in the box. I remember that.
So I guess the question
I gotta ask him why he answered that so wrong, because
a
well-built mounds field is the perfect field. It's the most fun.
That is true, but I had to ref the mounds fields for so many years. I didn't get to play those. It was Pittsburgh, and then I mean, Billy created the mounds field. We didn't have enough fields, and Franco's like, "What do we do?" And Billy drew a sketch, and Franco got his bulldozer out, and we created the first concept field that wasn't speedball.
Hyperball came after that. Hyperball is considered a lot of times the first concept field.
Yeah, they did.
And it was movable.
They saw what happened there, and they did that. And then
spectators could watch some of these cool things you guys were doing. I think mounds, you know, are underappreciated what they are. It's hard to build a good mounds field.
It is.
But outside of that, they're fun to play because they're chaotic. They reward aggression. They penalize sloppy play. I mean, you can't be a back player and play loose there because the way things drop down on them. I don't know. I learned a lot playing mounds that I think still carries over to today. I'm not saying your answer was wrong, but I think for a lot of reasons, like the mounds,
I like
hold up high regard in my.
Yeah, I like mounds. I think if they can be great and they can suck if it's a crappy mounds field.
For sure. There's no doubt about that. A bad mounds field is one of the least fun things to play.
Yeah.
Every time I see the ICC, I'm just like, I want to play that field like so bad. It just looks so nice. The mounds field out there.
Yeah. The one that's there now is great, but the two that used to be there were my two favorite fields of all time, bar none.
Unfortunately, they're a parkway or something.
Yeah. One's a road and the other one's a hyperball field.
Yeah.
The one that used to be where the hyperball field was, it was perfection in a field form, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. It was
like a bunch of interlocking like stars. The mounds were, you know, I was a kid when I really played them, but like to me, they felt like they were like 20 feet tall. Like people were like running up them. If it was ever wet, sliding down them. Like a lot of chaos happened where, you know, people were behind each other. Like both teams would break a side of the field or through the middle, and you can make ridiculous comebacks from being a little more aggressive on those. I like something that rewards the aggressor and doesn't slow down play. Yeah, and sneakiness throughout that.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting you touched on like Tim coming in and kind of that was your time to step away. I'd like to touch on two things. Like one, like what was it like to make the decision to step away? Because as a competitor myself, like I don't understand how people do it yet. I think like I will know when I either don't have the passion for it anymore, or I'm not, or I don't feel that I'm a benefit on the field as much as I am now. That'll probably be the time. But also too, like when you pick up this kid, you know, who was on a bad pro team the year before, but he's fast, he's playing the snake. You had limited knowledge of him. You pick him up not only to play on the team, but also to run the field that you're opening. And, you know, that he grows into a mainstay. And like, I think that, you know, attests to your character is like the people that, you know, you put around you, but also that stay around you. Like, I think it's pretty cool.
I think you remember the story of how I got Tim to the team, but I had to trade 2 shockers for him.
Yeah.
Right. From
you were involved in most of the paintball trades, as have I been.
He became available, and I talked to the guys from Crossman, and we settled on 2 shockers for Tim Montrester. I think that's pretty.
Do you get any upgrades on them? High efficiency kits, anything? Or
I don't know. They might have been strange shockers or what? Not strange. Whatever. What were they called back then? Detroit Thunder. Yeah, Detroit Shocker. So, yeah, but that was pretty cool how that worked out. But no, Tim was a great individual. He, you know, good business mind, good paintball mind, and just extremely social and you know, he liked to. He was a competitor too. I mean, he liked pushing people's buttons, and
he was more of a button pusher than a competitor. Yeah. The amount of times I had to tell that dude, listen, one more thing, I'm gonna punch you right in your nose. That's it, Tim. That's your line. Yeah, love them. That's the kind of things you can do with, you know, your best friends.
Right. No doubt.
So like when you know, picked him up, hired him to be there, I'm sure it's not like you're like, oh, this kid, he's probably not even 21 yet. You're like, he's not going to be a long-standing part of this company and this organization for forever. I mean, you can't pick up people with that mindset, I don't think. But so how do you understand when that happens?
See that, but he had ideas, you know, he would voice them, and he would speak up and say, hey, this is what I want to do. You should do this. And he'd do his homework and put in his, you know, research on stuff. I think part of it had to do with the fact that I think he had some field experience before and
I'll put future ball.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, that was part of it, but I think everything he got, he earned, you know.
No, for sure. One thing I respected about Tim a lot is he wasn't the best idea guy, but he was the best action guy. He knew how to make sure that something got implemented and an idea didn't go to waste. And I think that's harder to find than someone who just has ideas.
Yeah, no, he definitely implemented well, and he did, just dozens and dozens of things that were really helpful. And the more he had success, the more you give him the opportunity. And I think that was always the case with Tim.
Yeah. And so when he came on the team, it was kind of like the beginning of an era change for the Philly Americans, I'd say. Like before that, on the All-Americans and stuff, like everyone to this day, like if I'm talking to Saransky or anyone, those dudes are a bunch of nerds. like what gave you guys that outlook from the other people? Is it just because you guys were more businessmen back then, or weren't?
No, I think we were a bunch of nerds when we started winning. It pissed them off. I mean, when the All-Americans, we had our first success in the Lively series. I mean, we won some Wolf Slayers and stuff like that, but Lively was NXL of today. I mean, it was the biggest events. They had Chicago and LA and I forget all the places, but there were 4 or 5
for the
nationwide big tournament series that had the Masters in Tennessee at the end of the year. Music City, it would start there. And I mean, we had, when we first went, we had 2 girls on our team. We had a couple fat guys, a couple guys without teeth, and my brother who looked like everyone thought he was my dad. He's 3.5 years older, and I probably looked like I was 15. So we probably were a bunch of nerds. I mean, nerd can you get than all of us together? I mean, he wasn't as tattooed back then, but we were a bunch of, I think, you look at the Ironman, they're all cool Southern California guys, and then Aftershock are the big lumberjack muscle guys. And I think it made them so much matter when they would lose to a bunch of nerds.
It 100%.
And that just made it that much better. They had to, how is this possible? How could they beat us? And that Tennessee one where Bob Long and they were filming it, and there was a trench up the middle, and they of course win the coin toss and have the top. We're stuck in a hole. We have no chance of beating them. And Billy comes up with this crazy strategy is we'll just run up the trench and split them in half. And that was the squealer game. One of their guys was screaming. He got cut like after that, and they were so embarrassed. But
you can't squeal from a nerd.
Yeah, we beat them in like 40 seconds, and they were just devastated. And so they of course started thinking, oh, someone must have told away our plan. That was the only option we had. You guys would have surrounded us from the high ground and just peppered us to death. So
that was the double-edged blade of Billy. He had great ideas, or he was squirting WD-40 into your hoppers, thinking it was going to help your paint. So you had to keep an eye on that man.
He came up with crazy strategies, and they did not all work, but some of them worked really well. So
yeah, that's amazing.
The one thing I like about Billy is he buys into his ideas fast, and that's what it takes to implement an idea, whether it's great or decent. For it to be successful, you have to commit to it and have other people believe in it. And he was good at making those two things happen.
Yeah, he definitely was. He was good at finding talent too.
Yeah.
Bringing guys on, and the Phil Hams and the.
I was going to say, it is interesting that you guys were, as the All-Americans, but we're the first team that really started bringing Europeans over. Like for as long as I can remember, you always had at least one European.
Yeah.
Wow. So I do want to. I hope this is a good point to kind of ask this question. I do want to ask it. At what point did you get the idea that you want to develop a product? Like, was there something going on with the equipment you were using? And
that was my brother. I mean, he started the company. I was still in graduate school, and we were playing paintball, and his story is pretty unique. I mean, here's a guy who went to college, went to graduate school to get an MBA and a master's. Yeah. And then rather than go and work for somebody, he went to Vo Technical School in Johnstown to learn machining, because he wanted
not too many masters to Vo Tech routes.
Yeah, nobody ever does that. In fact, the teacher was like, "Why are you here?" He's like, "Well, I want to learn how to make my own paintball gun." He's like, all right,
Wow.
and he built, it was called the Boss. It was a pump gun, and he designed it in his class, and we got a couple, he got a couple machines, started in his garage and made all the parts. And he realized how bad that sucked by yourself. And I would come and help assemble them and do some marketing, because I was getting my MBA in marketing and finance, and put together a strategy. And then but as we were players, we wanted something better. So kind of the motivation was to make us do better.
Yeah.
And
It directly behooved you. You make something better. There was a lot of room for improvement back then.
Yeah. And the biggest thing he did was the spiral ported barrel. I mean, that was huge for us. And we started winning. We went from, that was around the time where, we made our first, Sunday and got a couple 8th places. And then we made our first Final Four, and then 3rd, and then 2nd, and then 1st. And I think that was like 91, 92. And, but people saw that we were more accurate with our guns. So people wanted to buy our barrels. And then we started buying, other guns and making them into packages, the PMI Piranhas, or the VM68s, whatever you want, the big, heavy.
Those are something.
10-pound things. We won the 91 Masters with those. And then we switched to automags and did a ton of stuff with that. So really, I think the motivation, we like business and we wanted to have a business and run it, but the motivation was to make better products so we could win and then sell them, as opposed to just what can we make to sell to people. It was always trying to get an advantage.
Yeah. I look at the company from an ingenuity standpoint and think of all the things that you guys first came out with, whether it's the spiral porting, were you guys kind of the first people to like bring splashes and stuff onto guns and looks?
I won't take the credit for the splash. I think actually Planet did a lot of that stuff, and we started buying the splash from them to put on our custom automatic.
Yeah, they were always the best out of England.
Yeah, it was
Planet,
the company in England did it, but they made a lot of the automatic parts, and we bought them and did a ton of business together.
Yeah, the automatic kits were always sweet. But yeah, like tequila, like everyone has that type of feed neck on their guns now. That was made from you guys. I remember the first time you gave them to us, I hated it because it wasn't even on both sides. I was like, man, that looks weird.
There's always developmental errors.
You play with it for one weekend. I was like, no, this is nice. No, this makes sense. And now it's standard place on every gun of every level, from the electronic guns. People can argue about that, but I know on the new website, what is the website?
DLX.life.
DLX.life. So go there, check it out. There's a lot of cool history that's been implemented there. And if you want to get into it, there's some depositions from the original lawsuits that were probably not good for paintball in the long run, for companies really spending a lot of money to fight each other over things. But I think it's important to protect your IP and your intellectual knowledge. So that is what it is. But for people that don't really know the true backstory, reading depositions is a good way to firm your grasp on that if you're interested.
Yeah. It really wasn't as much about that. It's realizing, you go to an event today and, you may see people with an HK insert kit, and those players, if they've been in the sport 4 years or less, they think they invented that. And it's like, nobody knows the history. There aren't magazines like there used to be. That's how you used to find out about stuff. So,
nowadays information comes way more in way more mass, but it goes away so much faster.
It goes away, and it's not, a lot of it's not there. So I wanted to kind of show a lot of the history of how we started and what we did, and the good and the bad. Let's face it, we went from nothing to 250 employees and 35 million in sales, back down to nothing and started over again. And, that's life. And, but people I think they should appreciate the history. There are a lot of falsehoods, in the industry about the patents and the things. And I think pretty much that one link will, if you don't
It'll
read
clear
that,
some things up.
yeah,
That's
it'll
fair.
clear it up. And if it doesn't kind of piss you off, then I guess you're, then, oh, well, but that's kind of how that whole thing started. And it's signed by the guy who said it. So, and I don't hold anything against him. He
No.
was doing his job at the time, and but that began a very long battle that again, this industry started as like garage wars,
Yeah.
and it was more than just players who were, want to play paintball and they get picked up on a team. I mean, the Ironman and Aftershock and the All-Americans and all these guys lived this life, and they started businesses, and they were competing not just on the field and not just in events. They were competing for business, for everything. So the animosity was, talk about a rivalry. I mean,
you're small industry with nothing but animosity.
Yeah. And I don't know that you see that as much of that today, but, certainly back then it was, it would have been a really good documentary before they had those.
Yeah, no, it would have been a fantastic documentary that I think anyone outside of paintball would have really enjoyed, because it has, all the compelling topics of a good story. Yeah. It has everything. So that's interesting. I think it's also pretty cool how, the Philly Americans have now been defunct since the end of 2009. We're going into the 2026 season, and I think that team is still highly regarded. And I think that's rare in sports for something to be gone, a decade and a half, and for players to still look up to that when, the average time in and out of this sport is probably 3 to 4 years,
right.
So to have like a team still that look that highly upon, and like, when the stuff with Heat happened this year, like some of the first, messages I got were, is Adam bringing the Philly Americans back? Like I
got some of those too.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. But for people to still, have that much admiration and respect for something that you build has to be, rewarding in itself.
I think a lot of that too. I mean, certainly, we did well, but you guys carried that on. I mean, you had, 4 or 5 of the guys go, eventually, right from, I won't say right away, but pretty quickly, into Heat. I mean, guys who had played with us and carried it on in a similar pattern with a similar, goal. And
it helps that most of the people that kept playing from the team won everywhere they went.
Yeah.
It makes people like when something ends before the time naturally should end it, it's always going to add that air of speculation, like what could have been. So I do think like when people see players succeeding after that, they're like, oh man, Jason Edwards just won the MVP at World Cup in 2025.
Right. There were so many good players that came out of Philly. I mean, the Adcocks and Brandon Mayo and I'm going to miss a whole bunch of them, but
because we had like hundreds of people come through.
we did. I mean, we had tons of players over these years that were in the organization, even if it wasn't on our team, it was sponsored by us or with us. And, so they played with us, they played against us, they practiced, they, shot our stuff. And I think that's part of what kept it going. And a ton of those guys are the big names in the sport today. So that's 10, 15 years later.
Yeah, now some of them are, business owners in the sport, and others are still playing. It's cool to see that like family tree spread out.
Yeah.
But I could go on about history, with you forever. I know a lot of stories, and I know there's a million more that I don't know. But I do want to talk about, just what we've had a lot of internal discussions, but I'd like, to speak your mind about like what you see the direction of the company going in. We're about to release a new marker, which I think is going to be pretty exciting for people to get their hands on. I think it's, doing a lot better than what other people have done so far. And you're doing it at a super competitive price where you're trying to help everyone from the customer to the dealers, the infrastructure without. But I'd like to, allow you the chance to speak and kind of share your vision, because I think the more people get a chance to know you, the more that they can buy into it. being connected to a company is more than about liking a product. Now it's about understanding the mindset behind things and the passion from the leaders of it too. So I think there's a few cool things that you're working towards with it, and I'd like you to speak on some of it.
Right. No, I appreciate that. I mean, a lot of this is coming from the realization over the last couple of years that we needed to make some change. We weren't doing the things that we needed to do as a company to stay on top and be competitive, and I can't emphasize how difficult it is to make change. You get into a product line and you get so many suppliers, solenoid valves, all of this stuff, engineers, everyone has their mindset, and it's really hard to just have a complete reset and start over.
Especially when a company's smaller in size with employees, right? Like back when you had 250 plus employees, 10 people in the engineering department, 12 people in the marketing department. It's easier to make swings there because you have a bunch of different mentalities already working on different things. But I think smaller companies have to be more thoughtful in their decisions because the time that they invest in anything is valuable.
It definitely is. And I think we got kind of set in our ways of doing things. And when you realize this is broken, we need a restart. And so we've taken really the last, say, almost 2 years with the goal of getting to the point where we are now. I mean,
awesome.
We brought in the method guys to help in some of the new designs, and
John and Jared have been great to work with on my side. So
I mean, they're terrific, but they're also an outside voice that looks at things from a different perspective, and things that we, where we've tried to make something really unique and different, but sometimes by doing that, you make it harder to make and more
overcomplicated.
Overcomplicated, and they kind of simplify it and I won't say dumb it down, but you dumb it down from a perspective of making sure every part's going to work the way it should to take away, because
machining of reproducibility of all those things,
all that stuff. Because today's paintballers, I mean, you have these groups, people who will want to meticulously clean and maintain their marker, but a lot of guys, they're few and far between.
I mean, I know Rodney Squires, but outside of that, Mishka's good about it. All the time he's asking me to clean his gun.
Their idea of cleaning or, teching their gun is wiping the paint off from the day before when they hear 10 seconds. So we've got to cater to that market and give them what they want. And I went to every NXL event. I went to WCCPLs. I've gone to a lot of events and just walked the pits, and looked at what people are using and talked to them and hear what they say. And a lot of them, they're like, I'm a dirty baller. I love how your gun shoots, but I want it to work no matter what. I'm not going to maintain it. And so listening to that, I realized, we're really on the right track here. This is what we need to focus on. It isn't just about, we've got to make it perform, but we've got to make it perform for everybody, not just this group. And it's also recognizing, the barrels. We have our new Freak Power barrels out. That's one of the things when our patent ran out, and HK was one of the first to pretty much copy it, and then the whole world, but started making a product that was.
It didn't matter who was first; everyone was going to. That's what happens with patents, right?
Yeah,
that's
right.
why you're protected for the amount of time that they're there.
But that had a huge effect on us as a company, because for 15, 20 years, every store, every person had a Freak barrel kit, and they had to call us to order it. They had to all do this. And now, 6 months later, there's, 6 different versions of them out. And then they changed the standard so that our inserts won't even work on their guns. And so we realized, we've got to make a change on our barrels. We got to make a change on our guns, and going into 2026, I mean, almost everything we make is brand new, and we're super excited about it. And it's a lot of work. And, you go through some difficult times to get through that transition. But, I got to meet a lot of these teams and they're pretty excited to, shoot our stuff. And, they like being treated nice and taken care of. And they want to appreciate it. They wanted it to be a two-way relationship. And I think that's one of the things I need to emphasize. If a team's looking for a sponsorship, it isn't just what are you going to get from them? It's what are they going to do? What are we going to do for that sponsor? And I kind of, I like the pro teams, Ryan. I know you're there, but I think paintball is sold at a regional and a local level. And I think that's one of the places we've, kind of got our butts handed to us for the past, decade or so. We tried to go with the philosophy of, we're not going to undercut our dealers and do deals, and our product's good enough, you should want to use it. And, other companies did a shit ton of team deals. And that now, you go to Pittsburgh, our backyard, which we owned for decades, and they're all shooting Planet. And we're like, this something.
Not all of them. There's some good ones out there.
Yeah. Okay. You and Zach. But, so I'm kind of changing my sponsorship philosophy with this new product. I want to accomplish really 3 goals. The first one is make something people want. Obviously, if you don't have something they want, or if they don't want it, it's not going to matter. So if you make something that people want, I want my dealers to sell it and make money on it, but I need players and teams to use it. So, my philosophy is if you're lived the paintball life and you're spending all your money and all your weekends and you're losing your job and your girlfriend and or your boyfriend, whatever, because you're playing paintball every weekend and you want to go to events and compete. If you're an organized team, and I don't care if you're D5 or D6 or D7, if you play at the local level and spend this life, I want to sponsor you. And I'm not giving free product to everybody, but I'm going to give you a good deal. I'm not giving you product to sell. I want them to be laser engraved or custom graphic, but I want you to use them, be an ambassador. If some new guy says, "Oh, I haven't shot that air, let me shoot it." Go out there and let them play a point with it and help me build the product back up. And then those new players are going to walk in the store and they're going to buy it, and the store will be happy. The store's not going to make the demand for me. I have to make it for myself. And the way to do that is at the local level through teams.
And that's go ahead.
I said I just 100% agree with that. The copacetic relationship between sponsor and sponsee has to be like that. But outside of that, like you just talked about the professional league, you always want to have teams like that to showcase your product. But where you really grow is through the grassroots. And I think that's what Planet does well, because people are monkey see, monkey do, right? Like they're going to be more willing to give a product a chance if that's the product that's flooding the market. And it makes sense as a customer to do that as well, because you have more people with knowledge about it. You have more parts that cross over and you can help each other out. So when a company can get a stranglehold on a region, that region will stay loyal as long as you give them a product that fits their needs. So I think we did slack off on doing that. And a lot of it was, to make sure that dealers were in good hands and stuff. And I think you're still offering more than comparable or competitive, scaling to help dealers. It's still worthwhile.
Oh, it's a terrific dealer margin on this, which is what they want and what they need. And again, I feel that where a store has a better influence on the buying decisions when the customer walks in there.
Exactly.
So, my feeling is, if I don't care if you're buying 1 gun or you're buying 100 guns, I think you should be able to get a good dealer margin on it. And, some of my bigger customers may not appreciate that, but they're going to sell more and they're going to make more money on it as well. So
that's all scalable the way it is. But to touch on what you're saying, it's a store's never going to market for you, right?
No.
So they'll be happy to get, the better margin when they sell your product. But if someone comes in and wants a different product and they're making 1% less margin, but they don't have to fight the sale, they're going to sell that. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is important to, like you said, like get these in as many people's hands as possible. And I do like the way you're doing the sponsorship this year.
Yeah.
So I implore anyone that's interested in trying the gun that's going to be winning a lot of pro events this year, if they want to try that gun out this year, get a hold of Adam and work with him with the deals, because it's going to be mutually beneficial, and we're going to be able to really grow the landscape, the Lux family for one, but also get these guns into people's hands in an American business with American guns into Americans' hands and worldwide hands. And I'm excited because I think a lot of times it's just the impression of something that leaves a lasting effect, right? Because people might want to say like, oh, Luxes were finicky, Luxes were that, because they saw one like that, right? And if you see one like that and you're not seeing a lot of them, you'll think that. But I know guys on my team that don't take care of their stuff at all. And I, know how the guns work pretty innately, and I take care of it mostly, but I don't really clean my regs. And I'll tell you, these guns work really well all the time.
Yeah.
If you're not doing something drastically wrong to it.
Yeah.
Right.
And you see the same problems across, businesses. So,
and I want to just give you your flowers for that, Adam, because I used to be a professional athlete. It wasn't based around a team. It was on individual performance for me. And the things I would look at.
You're going to tell them what it was, or you're just going to keep that hidden?
Yeah, we'll keep it hidden.
Here's a wakeboarder.
A what?
A wakeboarder.
Wakeboarder, nice.
And I'd look at a company, you'd get offers as as any athlete. And my process was always, what's the morals and the character of the company? Who are these people? And is it going to be like a symbiotic relationship? Do you just want me here because of a name, or do you genuinely believe in me and have this no, we want you to be a part of the family, right?
Right.
And I think that's what's really exciting about your company and everything you're talking about. You want these people to be a part of the family, and it's not just to, like you said, and you don't want it just for, it's people you trust, people you believe in, people that is going to have drive and love for your product. But then those are the same people that you're going to attract to that product, right? That you've worked so many years for, so many hours and sleepless nights and all these things to build what you're doing now. And you get these same people that have the same love.
Right.
And then you create this relationship that's just fantastic, right? And so I think, go ahead.
I mean, in many ways, it's almost, a lot of the teams. That's why I like some of these divisional teams. I mean, Dynasty was a low divisional team at one point. Look what they became. I mean, I remember playing against those guys when, watching them in Pittsburgh when they won their cars and playing against them and so just going after the pro team, that's easy. It's just money. And
it doesn't necessarily mean anything. Yeah,
it isn't the same. I mean, I've had relationships with some of these pro teams for a long time, and that's awesome. But they started out of years ago and came into fruition. So I mean, I'd much rather see a team that's getting started in their paintball career, and they maybe I don't care if they win. It's how they. Are they trying? Are they putting in the effort? Are they, representing themselves well and building and growing on it? I mean, it's much more fun to see a team go from D5 to 4 to 3 and, hey, we hope to be semi-pro in 2 years and stuff like that. Those are, I think, more interesting and fun stories, and they appreciate it more. They're not necessarily at the point where they're saying, I want so many dollars worth of stuff and I want this and I want that. They're happy to be acknowledged and, get their post shared and get some tech support at the event and not get treated like crap, like go away, you're not important, we don't do that with guys.
No.
So, so that's the fun part. And I got to meet a lot more of them this year and just talk to them. And some of them, started the year with, we just a mixed team, or we're shooting this, and now they're on board and really liking us. It's fun to see their successes and you cheer for them and watch them grow.
Yeah. I think the air has a lot of cross appeal too. Like, I think it was, you have to be pretty introspective to look at, Pittsburgh and see that area not being a Lux mainstay anymore, or a Shocker mainstay. But the truth of the matter is it wasn't. But, I was out there this last weekend in 30-degree weather, and I had, people been like, I've always been a Lux hater. I'm, a PE guy, but I'm pre-ordering this right now, or I already pre-ordered it. I can't wait for this to happen. And that doesn't take anything away, because I also have very loyal Lux shooting people out there who still love everything about it. So to be able to, make a product that has cross appeal to different people who are set in their ways, because the easiest thing to do is, get into a product and stay there for the rest of your life. Or, like, since the iPhone has come out, I've never once considered getting a Samsung, right? Like, a loyal customer is one of the most valuable things that you can get. But the only way that works out is if it is a copacetic relationship. If you are, offering them something that they want, and you maintain that trust throughout the process with them. So I'm excited to, bring new people into this family and show them what it's like to be a part of it. I think it's unique. I think, it's right now just in the taking those first few steps into growing exponentially into whatever, you want to make it, we want to make it into again. And it's exciting to me. This is like, a new beginnings. It's a new beginnings for me on Heat. A lot of changes there, but it's also a new beginnings for our company. And I'm very excited, to take that step and see where it can go, what we can build it to.
It's a fresh start. And again, I'm super, there's so much work that went into this gun, and the team of, you had a big role in this. We have Hans, we have Ed, we have Leanne, we have Jared and John. We have so many people helping us get to this point. So, it's really, really cool to see that come together, and the interest and the response level from teams everywhere, and veteran militia guys, ragtag army guys, SenCal Alliance. We have teams everywhere that are super excited, and new ones coming out of the woodworks, and they're excited about it. So I think
in the end, though, that's just a product, right? Which is important. That's important. What I'm saying is, like, I'm excited for more people to see the growth of the company, to see what else we'll do in the future. But it all starts with a good product.
It starts with a good product, and really a range of good products. We have, we always, feel that's why we haven't gone into, we're just not going to make stuff because other people are making it. We want to feel we can make it different and better and improve on things. And that's why we're primarily barrels and guns right now. There's lots of other people making goggles and loaders and, all that other stuff. And this is what we focus on. And again, I excited to see where it goes.
I would say there's some room in the loader market still, but I know how you feel about mold fees. So.
yeah.
So probably should avoid the one product that has the most.
Yes, there was a lot of IP tied up in that stuff.
Yeah, a ton of it. I think that's opening up now, though.
It is, and I'm sure
I wouldn't want to get involved with loaders anyway.
Yeah,
I tell most companies that do that they shouldn't have.
So. Yeah, it's tough.
It is tough, and it's going to take
lots
a lot
of
of
tried,
abuse.
many failed.
Well, it's going to take a lot of abuse, and it has to work perfectly under so many different firing rates and weather conditions.
We had the whaler
to it
back in the day. Do you remember?
Well, that was just wasn't that just PVC pipe and a V?
PVC. Hey, back in the day.
Whoa. Was that a 2-piece PVC pipe?
Yeah.
I saw a photo of that the other day. I was like, dude, yeah.
Flynn Barnett from the All A's came up with that back in the day, and when we had the little 40 round things with tubes, that gave us a huge advantage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It certainly would.
Oh,
Well,
that's amazing.
A lot of cool products. I would also like to touch on, I know it's briefly out there on our website and stuff, but I think you came up with a pretty cool idea for the leasing program. And I've seen it get some positive and negative feedback, but I'd like to hear your interpretation of why you're doing it also. Because I like having the talks with me, I was super skeptical of it at first. But, the more you broke it down to me, it makes sense. You're not trying to push this on anyone. It's just another option for certain people in certain situations. So
the concept is, it's similar to an iPhone in a way. And it's not for everybody. I'm not sure it's for me entirely. I want to see if people like it. And so we'll try it with a couple hundred guns next year and see how it works out. But the concept is you have some people who like to get the newer model every year or want to try it before they're fully committed to it. So I was trying to come up with,
and also don't have the time to be in that resale market all the time.
Yeah,
that's the two ways to do it. You can always buy and sell, or you can lease a car.
That's true. The one of the issues in paintball is you don't know what you're buying on a resale gun and what they did to it, and some of the abuse and stuff like that. So the thought was, try to get the product in people's hands easier. So you have an initial payment that, is relatively low. And then you have monthly payments for, 10 months or so. So after a year, you've paid slightly more than half for it, at which point you can, do three things. You can say, I want to keep this gun. I really like it. So continue to pay payments, and you eventually would pay what you would have paid up front over.
So I think that's the key point. Most times you're doing that.
Yeah.
Most times you're doing that. You're paying in excess of what the stock price is. So you would pay it off at the retail price, pretty close.
The same price. Yeah.
Yep. So I think that's an important point to point out, though, because I think easily when you think of a leasing situation, are you paying time and a half? Are you paying double by the time that's over? So you can buy out of it. Basically, you're renting it for a while. You can put that final payment on to buy it for what you would have paid new, or you could turn it in for.
Well, that's the second option when you say, all right, I want a new one next year. So rather than having to pay a full deposit down, you just continue the payments for 12 months to get you to the same point. And then you turn in the used gun, which then we can do a factory refurb, make sure it's working good, and then offer to teams or offer it at a different price. But I can control the secondary market a little bit better. So that
I think that's one of the things that Lux did so successful at the start in 2008 was able to maintain their value over the course of time. And a lot of that, at that time you were controlling dealers and that affected the secondary sales of it. People weren't just trying to wholesale them out for a couple dollars on them. That helped. But this is another way to maintain value on the product you're purchasing.
It definitely would. If it works and became successful, I think it would have a lot bigger impact on the secondary value. And the third option is if you pay for it for a year and then you decide it's not for you, you turn it in and walk away. So you paid, a little bit more than half price, you used it, and you decide to move on to something else. So there's not really a downside to it other than, but the other question is if it paid full retail up front and then used it for a year and then went to sell it, are you going to be any better off? And the answer is
with the way resale has been currently, you probably would be worse off.
Right. So, there's some downsides. I want to make sure that I'm doing it for guys who are, have a IPPA or a player number and are registered on a team. And, that
was one of my main concerns is protecting yourself in this.
Right.
You want both parties to not. get
gotta make
screwed
sure
out
you
of the
get paid,
situation.
but we're not going to hit people's credit and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So, you know, kind of
No
put it
one,
out
no,
there.
no one trusts you when you say that.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, I mean, you could do a buy now, pay later
Yeah,
thing. It's a different thing. You're committed to that.
Mhm.
You know, certainly you're committed to your term here if it's a year of what you got to pay. But you know, there is some trust there, but we got to do our homework on who we let do it. And again, we might do 10 of them, we might do 1,000 of them. I have no idea, but we'll start slowly and work through the bugs and see what the feedback
Amazing.
is. People like it
Yeah.
and they want it. It's certainly something that hasn't been done before, but if you lower that initial barrier to entry for people, you
Yeah.
know, they can get in at a really reasonable price and then pay for it over time. I think they'll appreciate it.
And it hasn't been done in this industry, but it's been proven
No.
across countless
Right.
industries. So as skeptical as
Oh.
I was, I am bought on to the idea that there's no harm in trying it.
Right. No, I agree.
Well, and I mean, that is such a great concept, right? It's like you get to get into the product starting out for less, and then you get to really run it through its paces. I mean, that's fantastic. And it's such a great idea to bring to this sport because a lot of people work really hard to get where they're at and do what they're doing. And then they're like, I know this works. I really want to do this other marker, but I want to shoot it, but I don't know. And then it gives them an opportunity to create their own opinion about it. And I think that's fantastic. That is so awesome to hear.
Yeah,
Awesome for y'all.
I'm excited about it. We gotta get to the point where we have fill our initial orders for guys that are on my pre-order list and eagerly waiting. But I think it's something we'll roll out in probably second quarter of next year and see where it goes.
Amazing. That's incredible. That's super, super cool.
Well,
And I'm excited. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No,
You're excited. What are you excited about, Hal?
I'm just excited. Like, I mean,
He's
he's
always
bringing
excited.
something. He's bringing it. No, I'm not. But he's bringing a new idea into the market world for paintballers, and I just think that's great when you keep innovating. Whether it's a lease program, whether it's a clamping feed neck, whether it's inserts. I mean, it's just something that grows the sport and gives someone else an opportunity to create their own opinions, and I think that's just fantastic.
Business and life is always a challenge, and you have ideas, and some are good, and some aren't so good, and but you got to try them and see what works, and listen to feedback, and what do people say,
I mean, and honestly, some ideas are great but poorly executed, and some ideas are mid and well executed. And it's just it all comes down to a lot more than just that. But I think I like the direction this is all going. Are people still going to see you at these events next year? Are you going to be boots to the ground?
I will be boots to the ground, and I'm very available too. I mean, people, if they want to reach out and discuss sponsorship, just send me an email. I give people my cell phone number. They text me. I get
That's crazy.
all hours of the night and day of people, excited about stuff, and they have some.
I know that's the truth too, because I get the messages from you when it's a question. Hey,
yeah, that is true. I'll get some technical Instagram questions, and I try to help them out. But
no, I think anytime an owner of a company has that much FaceTime and approachability is only a benefit to it. So
I don't know. Some guy trolled me on Facebook saying they didn't want some 60-year-old guy hawking their product, which I thought was kind of funny. I don't feel like I'm 60. I'm definitely not 60 yet, but I still feel like I can go out and play the game and be there and be involved with it. So you know what?
You know how social media is for every one loud voice, there's 100 non-loud voices. So I think you've been doing a good job. You've never been a FaceTime like center of attention kind of guy. So I know it's kind of outside your comfort zone a lot of times to do those things, but I think you're getting to where it's second nature. So it
is, but you realize you gotta fight for your company and your product and get your voice out there. And if it's not me, who's it going to be? So, that's kind of
more so if you're not willing to do it, why should someone else?
True.
I
Yeah.
think that's the
Yep.
way I would look at it more.
Right.
And I don't know, what was that, 2 years ago, Ryan and Adam, where NXL was last in Philly, or outside it was in King of Prussia, right?
Maybe.
Two,
I mean,
maybe,
it could have
maybe
been three, probably three.
Okay. That's the first time I got to meet you, and then I was at the booth with Chad and Ryan, and we walked away, and I was just like, dude, that guy is just genuine. I was like, I like this guy. I was like, you just resonate that, and I think that's what this sport needs, is a face of a company that shows up, that cares, that loves the sport, and just wants to innovate, grow, and spread the passion. And it's fantastic.
And if you just want to talk sports with him too, some fantasy football,
I've heard about that.
He's saying that as his team like destroyed me this weekend.
I wasn't going to talk about that. I was going to talk about how yours. I was going to talk about how yours beat me in the semifinals last week in a different league.
Yeah, I did, but
I did destroy you this week. It was kind of.
I haven't checked the game. I need like 60 points from Jonathan Taylor, Purdy, and Jennings tonight to beat Todd Hugo. I went 25 and like 4 in the Super League. You play 2 times a week, and Todd Hugo beat me twice. And he inched through by Eric Crandall by like a half a point last week. And now he's going to beat me again. And it's just bullshit because I dominated. I was 10 games ahead of everybody, and I'm still not going to win. It's terrible.
You've been playing that for how long? You know how that's the way it goes.
Yes, that is.
I think my team that I didn't need the win last week to move on to the semifinals, but I struggling to score probably like 98 points. I ended up getting a win, whatever. This week I score 170 something against you. It's just the way it goes.
Destroyed me. I quit watching. It was terrible.
It's too easy.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So are you gonna, for the Super League, when he said Super League, that's a league where they play all of the sports, so the 4 major sports. So it's a endless, never all time consuming.
Describe it well, because this was my this is how my mind thinks, but I like competing. And we all played back in the day. We had there's like 7 fantasy winner. Everybody won. Like, woohoo, you won, big deal. So did everybody else, because you're in so many stupid leagues. So then we tried basketball, and that was interesting. And then we tried hockey and baseball, which is ridiculous. So came up with the idea of a Super League champion, meaning you get points based on how you finish in each league. So first place gets 100, last place gets 0. There are 10 guys. You have 4 sports, and the prize money, you get a little bit for winning a sport, but it goes to the overall winner, and we have a trophy. And
the Hugo.
Todd, he won a lot.
He hasn't been so good recently.
I shared my secret with him early on, and he crushed us with it for multiple times.
Oh, no.
At one point, I think Todd and I had won like 8 or 9 out of 10. With him winning more than me, but he's slacked off. He moved to Texas, and
I thought all that was going to be a bunch of free time for him, but
you thought
now
so,
he's ranching, and
he had a lot more free time when he's working for me, I guess. But so we've been going on almost 20 years, and it's definitely fun, because baseball starts, and almost every sport, when it ends, you have another week or 2, and then you're right into the next sport. And when basketball finally ends, you're about to start your baseball draft and start the whole new year.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely love the idea of it.
Yeah,
but for me, I was just like, I don't like watching the other sports enough outside of hockey and football to want to invest in the time into knowing the players and stuff. And for years, Adam tried to get me and Sam to join this league separately.
Do it.
No.
And they won, and then they quit.
What a baby! He's
the money.
Okay,
Get out of here, Ryan.
That's the truncated version. The full version is I turned him down. I turned him down for years. And then he took the passing of Tim, both of our friends, and pitied me into joining.
Somebody had to carry Tim's team on.
Yeah.
Tim was terrible.
Me and Sam took over the team.
Yes.
We were the Wild Jews, you know, because his fantasy team is the Jew Man Crew, and I'm
I
Wild
remember
Man's
this
Warriors.
story.
So we took over the team. You know, we won some individual sports. We played for a couple years, and I was like, Adam, I hate this. It's too much. I never get a break from it. I'm done. We played for an additional 2 years after that, and that 1 year, and then he's like, no, you have to play again. So we played again. And then me and Sam said, hey, not only we're going to be done after this year, but we're going to win the whole thing this year too. So we took Tim's team out as a win. He had a 2-year warning of us quitting. That's fair. And it's been a big weight off my shoulders to not have to care about these sports I don't care about.
It's still fun.
He suckered me back into it partially this year.
I
Because
did.
Yosh
I
took
had
over the
another
team.
Twitter.
So it's a bunch of like the dynasty guys and a bunch of All-Americans. Pretty much comprises, you know,
Yes.
the league. And
Call out Yosh, who's the biggest quitter
yeah.
ever.
Yosh took over the team and quit after one sport.
He
So it
played
was the middle of the
baseball
year.
last place and said, "Oh, I can't do this anymore." I'm like, "What the hell?
You're like,
One sport."
yeah.
Yeah.
So Adam calls me the morning of their draft and is like, hey, I need you to be in this. I went, I'll draft, I'll manage it, but I'm not coming back in. This is the only sport I'm doing.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome. Oh man.
So truncated version, I'm a big baby and I quit. but non-truncated version, he had fair warning, and we finally got Tim's loser team to a championship.
They did go out on top.
I can see both sides, right? You got to go out on a win, and then it's like, don't be a baby. You just won. Bring it back.
No. I didn't. Yeah, but this wasn't like, oh, we won, we're done. This was, we're gonna be done no matter how we finish.
They did give me warning.
At least you're honest about it.
Yeah.
They still tried to make us feel bad, though. You can't.
I mean, I would
now.
too. Yeah, I mean, I would too. So I can't blame you.
Of course, I would have done the same.
Yeah, it's what good friends does.
In it from Dynasty and SK. They've done pretty well. They've actually, I think, both maybe won a year. So
nice.
SK's a treat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is Daryl done this year now? Though?
Yeah, he quit too. He's a big quitter.
Yeah.
So,
but now you have the opportunity to just make it an 8-team league.
It is an
8-person
team.
You have very loyal members now.
Yes.
So what is it? Frank, you, Todd, Eric,
Tarzan,
SK,
AJ,
Tarzan, JJ,
Frank.
I said Frank, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this doesn't make the best podcasting, but either way, that's a bunch of paintball people from, all over the world.
Oh yeah, it's all paintball people.
It's all paintball people.
There is not people.
No outsiders allowed.
No outs. Well, yeah, we might beat them up a little bit.
Only if you pay for a full year in advance, just so you don't have another Yosh situation.
That is true.
Well, I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. Adam, with all the years that you've gotten to be in paintball, developing, innovating, like giving to the community, I do want to ask you, there's going to be 2 questions. I'll ask the first. What is one of your favorite memories that you have? It doesn't have to be a game, a match, a point. It could be
like the hardest question ever to answer.
I know.
The amount of times people ask me that, I'm like, there's so many, and that's a lot of time.
Then just pick one. Pick one that was a really good one for you. Doesn't have to be a favorite, a really good one.
I don't know. Probably, winning some of our first, like experiencing winning for the first time. That was pretty cool. On a big national level. You definitely remember those. And I'd say the other ones, getting the opportunity to play with my son and have him watch, the early ICCs and then saying, hey, I want to do this and getting involved and playing. We've won a bunch of tournaments together, even fairly recently, even as me being the old man and him being the young kid. So that's pretty fun too.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
How would you describe the differences of yours and Jude's mentalities when playing? Because I think a lot of times people would assume that like parents and their offspring would play the same
total
way.
opposites.
Yeah.
I mean, Jude is super patient and cautious, and likes the back, I think, more than being a front player. I mean, you know, if he has to, and they say run there because he's fast, he'll do it. But I think he'd rather play a you know, kind of like the cover guy, and he's a good shot, but super patient. And I'm more of just a constant, where can I get an advantage? How can I get to kill this guy? Where can I break it open? Type.
Let's mix it up a little bit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get in the mix.
You know, so it just definitely different, but
isn't that interesting how that happens? Because like, well, I think also like Jude never really got a chance to watch you play until that first ICC.
Yeah.
In any competitive outlet, you know? So
yeah, no, he really never saw any of that stuff. So.
I think that's like the biggest shame to me, is how much of like that was lost to history. You know, there's some videos here and there, but you don't get full stories and understand, like, you know, the athlete. A lot of times people remember athletes as what they were when they just left, but that's not like a encompassing view of what that player was. You know, it's hard to associate. If you see something directly, it's hard to associate what they really were without ever having that direct knowledge.
Right.
So like, I would assume that led into him getting his own play style and stuff too, because it's not like, you know, he grew up wanting to do this and like watching you in your prime.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't think he ever really got to see a lot of that type of stuff. So he wasn't born yet.
I mean, some of my favorite memories, you know, were when I was first on the LAs too. We were just practicing up at your parents' house. You know, we would literally, this was before we played with nets and stuff around. They lived in a community. They had a nice backyard with flat ground that we would, you know, drive up a bunch of bulk tanks, set up a field up there, and be playing. Like, I went to high school, or I guess middle school, with some of these kids that lived around the area, and they'd like walk over and watch like from a distance so they didn't get shot. But like, I'm up there playing against, you know, the All-Americans. People are flying in from Europe. I'm playing against the Stranges and, you know, all the teams back then. And it was like an opportunity. Like, I feel very blessed to have grown up in this area. I think I would have found paintball regardless. I mean, I fell in love with it before I ever knew what Smartports was or who any of the pro teams were. And I was already invested in it. But to have, you know, something like this in your backyard, you know, it was such a pillar of the paintball community, and it gave me more opportunities to, you know, reach my goals a lot faster, and also just see people
just exposed. It'd be like the early days of hockey, going and jumping and in the backyard with like the Canadians or something, and getting to skate with them and watch them.
It's exactly like that. And it's like, you still have to make your own way and make your own path, but it gives you the opportunities to see what's possible, and, you know, to test your skills against people, but also just to see all the different personalities in it and stuff. And I think doing that, you know, in a backyard close to where I grew up was things that I'll never, you know, take away. I still remember, you know, times you and your brother would be arguing about something, and it's like,
never happened. I don't remember.
No. But I remember Frank throwing cases of paint into the bushes, you know, because he didn't want to practice anymore.
I still have guys who come at me event and say, I remember playing in your parents' yard, and you know, up on the hill. Is, you know, that was crazy.
And
that's awesome.
And I think that's something we didn't touch on either, is like, this was a family business, like, thoroughly. I think, you know,
when we
both of your parents were both very successful in their own trades, but then, you know, they jumped on fully on board. And, you know, like, I'm a kid working in the factory, and I'm, you know, it's multi-generations of people that are lending hands and making it
actually
work.
Had my grandfather honing some of the first rifle barrels when he was like 85, you know, but he was an engineer. My mom was a chemical engineer. My dad was a lawyer, and they had a successful business and sold it when they were young. And when we started,
very, very smart individuals that
wanted to help out, and they went to work every single day, and pretty much until they died. But they loved it, you know? So
I remember, well, I think ingenuity can run in families too, and business success. Like, what are some of things your mom helped invented to share?
She developed
like-
basically smoke-free foam. They had a company called Toya. They made foam rubber and mattresses, but the main thing she was able to do, and again, she was one of the first women chemical engineers that went to University of Pittsburgh.
Wow.
My dad was in his was first in his law school class at Pitt, and that's where they met. But when they did this, she came up with a formula where the mattresses, when they were lit, they were often in prisons and on ships. And if there was a fire, prisoners would light them on fire and kill a whole cell block because the fumes were so toxic and deadly. And so she made pretty much a smoke-free foam. And
wow.
That did really well. She actually had a patent on that, and I think DuPont gave it to their competitor because the formula so that they could sell more product. But so goes back in the days. And my grandfather, her father was a engineer that worked with Einstein doing coolant fans on like the some of the stuff for the war. So
yeah, it's insane.
On my dad's side, my grandpa Gardner he almost pretty much invented the trade show industry. He had a company called Gardner Displays and did some of the very first displays like you would see at a trade show. And I
can't wait till you get some of that framed and
he was like the who's who in Pittsburgh back in the days where there were the big names in Pittsburgh.
Crazy.
He flew to New York to sell the concept of the trade shows, and on the way back his plane blew up in midair. My dad was like 15, and so he passed, and I think he would have gone on to amazingly great things.
Wow.
So he worked with Salvador Dalí. He got in an argument. He drew some of the designs for the World's Fair, and they were these mermaid fins, and Dalí would come over to his house in his cape and his mustache and scared the crap out of my dad and my aunt because he's so and right before the fair he decided he didn't like these mermaid fins, and so he started cutting them up, and they got in a fist fight, and my grandfather threw him in the water, and then my grandfather died shortly after that. My grandmother, the whole place at Gardner Displays hated Dalí so much they took all these original drawings, hundreds of them, for all these things, and put them in a fire and burn them. Said it was the happiest day of her life. We're like, oh my God.
Like a few generations from now is going to be real sad.
Oh, it's funny. You look up on that fair and there's like somebody wrote articles on it. They're like, oddly, there's no remnants of those, that time period of those works. And I know what happened. So, it's crazy. So, a family of entrepreneurs and business people going back really probably 200 years. So
it's just in your blood.
Yeah, it is.
Just carrying the legacy of it. That's amazing.
I think Jude has it. I think he wants to do the same thing. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. Just seeing your legacy continue.
Yeah. Well, before we do wrap it up after such a fantastic episode, thank you for carving out time for us. I normally ask Ryan to do this, but I would like for you to give some kind of dad/life advice for it can be anything.
Hey, I guess my life advice would be don't be afraid to try something you believe in, and don't get too far down if you fail, because if you never try, you're never going to be successful. There's certainly I've done lots of things, and not all of them have been good ideas, but certainly many of them have. But if you believe in what you're doing and keep doing it, hopefully you'll find success.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time. I know, it sucks jumping on a podcast sometimes, but I think you have a really interesting story, and, I want people to get to know you more. So I appreciate it. And I think it's good to be out there as well.
I appreciate it, and thanks, guys, and I appreciate the opportunity, and hopefully we'll do it again sometime.
Yeah, you're always welcome.
Whenever you want.
Sounds good.
I could dig into your stories all day.
I've got so many stories. They're really good ones. Half of them revolve around my brother's crazy hijinks and stuff like that. There's lots of good stories out there.
Yeah, I need him on to really get into the deep with some of this.
Yeah,
that's it. Have another quad person.
I don't think I'll let him do that.
No, that's a wise decision.
He's been banned from the internet, but it's all good.
I'm gonna bring him on, give him a couple bottles of whiskey, and see how it goes.
Oh man.
They call him the Scud. They give him tequila and then like pull the pin and watch it go. So
well, he, from all the garage work that he did, he also burned out his taste and smell buds from like welding fumes. Yeah. So back in the days when he was on the All Americans, like he'd go to the restroom, people would be pouring shots of tequila into his beer, a whole bottle of salt, like, and he'd just come back, drink it, and then he'd be blacked out drunk, didn't taste anything, not know why and he's an ornery drunk. So, he'd be headbutting people, trying to arm wrestling you, biting you. It got fun. And Jay Green was the instigator to a lot of that. But that Barefoot Bandit was one of my favorite guys ever.
Yes.
It's amazing.
But lots more stories to tell, but we're going to let you go. We're going to run the outro and just stay on for a couple seconds after so we can make sure it all downloads.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
See y'all on the next one.
Well, the whiskey's low and the story's all done, but we sure had ourselves some fun. From tall tales told to the last good pun, you've been rolling with the rowdy ones. Thanks for listening, y'all.